Let's get into that, by the way, Tom. Here's my first question. On a daily basis, how many people ask you what's going to happen with Belichick? When you walk around, when you're anywhere in your life, you go to the mall. Do people still go to malls? Whatever. Wherever you go, when you're around family, how many times a day do you think someone asks you what's going to happen with Belichick?
I would say the percentage of people asking me in a setting in which the gym, Dunkin' Donuts, I would say it's really close to, it's a percentage, call it 70%. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with Bill? What
So
are they
what
going
do
to do?
you so typically do you go and get the donuts and coffee before you work out or after you work out?
That's going to be, it's just going to be a coffee first off. We're not going to go with the donuts. We're going to get the coffee early and we're going to work out later. But in the course of the conversation, I say I'll tell you what I say. They made a decision. Can Bill wriggle off the hook? Can Bill somehow be persuasive enough in a meeting at the end of the season for the Crafts to change their minds and say, you know what, let's run it back. Look, the circumstances don't lend themselves right now to us moving on, because Ross, that's the crux of it. As I reported, in mid-December, at that juncture, after they had come out of Germany, not because of the game in Germany and the loss to the Indianapolis Colts, but at that point, conversations I had indicated strongly that the Patriots were going to part ways with Bill at the end of the season, and a decision had been made. Has he done enough in the 5 weeks since to change it? Or as ownership scrutinizes the situation, do they say, are we setting ourselves up to be a better team next year? Is this what's good for the football team? And that's a question that I think they certainly have to answer before they make the ultimate decision on Bill and actually follow through with it. So you can make a decision. You and I can both decide to, jump off a cliff. But if we both get to that cliff, I go, Russ, it's pretty high. It's kind of windy. Do you want it to come back tomorrow when it's less windy?
Do you think he definitely wants to be back?
Every indication I've gotten from folks reporting on it has indicated that he does.
Okay, because I didn't know if maybe he was ready to go to the Chargers or go somewhere else and try to win and break this record sooner.
Yeah, but the interesting thing, and I spoke to somebody on the staff yesterday, they said one of the most remarkable things about this has been Bill's consistency. He has shown not one inkling of drama. He hasn't blinked a bit. He hasn't mentioned it. The staff is completely in the dark. And given the Kraft family has not yet spoken with Bill Belichick, our buddy Mike Reese reporting that Monday is when the conversation will take place, Bill's in the dark. So as of this time, there's no conversation held, which to me, it seems really hard, Russ, doesn't it, to sit down on Monday and start trying to figure out how the best way to move forward is if you're going to keep Bill. You agree with me?
Absolutely. If they were going to keep him, they would already be talking about off-season plans and stuff like that. Let me ask you this, Tom. What would be his argument? Like, pretend I'm Robert Kraft and you're Bill Belichick, and we sit down and I say, Bill, I think we're going to move on. Like, try to sell me on your Bill Belichick. Try to sell me on why I should keep you.
Perfect. Look, it's been one season. Okay. We were 8-9. I kind of thought we were heading in the right direction with Matt last year. You didn't. Mac Jones was playing well at the end of the year. But you wanted to switch at offensive coordinator, and I love Bill O'Brien. So I said, all right, let's make that switch. In the end, Mac regressed. We had injuries. We had Cole Strange out. We had Michael Wenu out. We had our right tackles who I signed in free agency. Neither of them were able to get on the field, period. So our offensive line was in disrepair. So we weren't able to protect Mac. And as a result, his decision-making really ended up being pretty bad. So we were victimized by injuries. But if you look, Robert, you look at our defensive side of the ball, we lost Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez, our two best defenders. And we are one of the best teams in the league defensively. And if it wasn't for the turnovers and if it wasn't for the mistakes, we would be fine. Now we got a quarterback, heavy draft. We got a top 5 pick. We got $68 million worth of cap space. Don't you want somebody who's experienced at the point of the spear here making these decisions? I can take care of this. There's circumstances that injected themselves into this year that made it this way.
But
So don't talk to me about the Brady decision. Don't talk to me about the money that we spent in free agency 2 years ago. Don't talk to me about all the draft picks we've missed. Robert, you know and I know that I'm the greatest coach of all time, and I stand on that.
but Bill, it's not a 1 year thing. It's been 3 out of the last 4 years, and you're the guy in charge of everything. So why would your backup quarterback be a guy that you were willing to cut and put on the practice squad in Bailey Zappi? You could have given yourself a better option there in case Mac Jones faltered.
Yeah, you got me on that one. I mean, Joe. I mean, look at Joe Flacco. He's standing out there. He's minding his own business. We certainly could have brought him in August and not have to have suffered through Mac.
You know what's interesting, Tom, by the way, and I don't know how often you go on stations in other cities.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's most interesting to me, do you know that these other cities, they don't want him? Yeah, like in other words, I've been on in DC, and I said, I think there's a decent chance you guys get Belichick because I think Josh Harris will, he's a hedge fund guy. It's buying low, buying Belichick low, and it gives credibility. And he's like, we don't want him. I'm like, what do you mean? They estimated 10% of Washington football fans would want Belichick. Then I'm on in Charlotte, and I thought I can see Tepper doing that. Tepper needs some credibility. Tepper needs a guy like this. They don't want him down there either. And maybe it's just short attention span, and maybe if they hired him, Tom, they would feel differently. But I was blown away how many of these fan bases don't seem to want, like it would not be a slam dunk home run, people excited about a hire because of what happened this year.
I've said the same thing, beginning when the speculation was hot or began to warm up. I said, I don't know if people are going to be lining up for Bill Belichick, and people in our market said, you're crazy. There's definitely going to be people. And I've actually moved off of that stance, given after my report, how many people said teams will line up. But I think fans who say, I don't think I want that guy, are looking at the draft history, are looking at the offense and saying it's an offensive league and they're scoring 10 points a game. And the reason they're scoring 10 points a game isn't because of Bill O'Brien. And it's not totally because of Mac Jones. It's because of the totality of the decisions made on the offensive side of the ball. Jacoby Myers going off on another 70-catch season for 700 yards. And the Patriots said, no, we don't want him. Give us Juju. The guy's right in front of you and you don't want him. Tom Brady's right in front of you. And you're trying to move him out the door, and you finally get him out, and he goes and wins a Super Bowl. So to me, Ross, you were here when the Patriots were an outstanding team. Bill's involvement with offense and his ability to cultivate offense has always been propped up, helped, aided by very able assistant coaches, whether it be your line coach here, Dante Scarnecchia, or the offensive coordinator. And I think that's where the rubber meets the road for Bill's next spot.